So this sermon is Psalm 23, as you guys already know. And this Psalm 23 is a verse. Only there's like a few verses there, but it's very popular and it's well known. Just like John 3:16, correct? Yes. The only problem is that a lot of people knows these verses, even John 3:16. But there are things that you could know, and there are things that you could really know. You know, I know who you guys are, right? But then we're starting to get to know really each other more, right? Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm discovering with this type of stories. The verses that are really famous and popular stories, verses, a lot of us know, but the problem is that we don't really know. Like John 3:16, one time I made I haven't done it here, you know, that verse has always been popped up to you during the messages, but we haven't gone into the deep information about John 3:16. But I done a message on that one time. It was a deep stuff. There was a lot of stuff that can come out of John 3:16. And that's a surprise. Well, Psalm 23 is another one of those verses. Okay? And after Wednesday, now I'm, you know, because we have a Wednesday night Bible study, I spent 2 days preparing it, and then now as soon as that's over, I spent another 2 more days preparing for it to Sunday. And I just felt that strongly in my heart that Psalm 23 was something God was leading me to discuss about it today. And quickly, my reaction was, everybody knows Psalm 23. What's the big deal about Psalm 23? You know, but it's very, very popular one. And he reminded me, the one thing that also reminded me was when Monica broke her arm 2 years ago, you know, she was in Georgia, and she broke her arm over there. And so, you know, we're on the phone all day long trying to see what we need to do. You know, she's taking care of her business over there with going to the doctors, but she needs to come home now. Okay, she's injured. And he just, all of a sudden, both me and my wife, we suddenly fell into the fear. Like, oh no, it finally happened. You know, that's the biggest fear that all the parents have toward you when you guys are away, especially 2,000 miles away. And and the thing that popped in my mind and my heart was Psalm 23. The Lord is my shepherd, and I forgot everything else. But it says, through the darkness, the shadow of death, the Lord is with me, all messed up, do not fear. I keep repeating that to myself. And somehow those verses kept me calm. So there's something meaning into it, but I didn't know exactly what does it really mean as the Lord was introducing me to Psalm 23. So I was familiar with that passage for that purpose when Monica broke her arm, but then to talk about it, I was totally lost. And so I went through a deep research and studies and meditations, and a lot of reading had to be done in the last few days. I mean, I'm talking about all day, sometimes all night, you know. And it really touched my heart again, just like John 3:16. There's so much wonderful information there. And the other side of that is also that how many people, like myself too also, know Psalm 23, but we really don't really know what it means. Why is it that such a big impact? Why is it that so many people are talking about Psalm 23 so much? And people have heard of it and they know about it, but they really don't know this verse. And another area that we are so familiar with Psalm 23 is because we heard it constantly. When September 11 occurred, presidents read that song. And many times you heard it also in the funerals. Okay? But people don't really know exactly why that is. You know, there's 1 or 2 parts of the message there that seems to be important. But overall, the whole psalm, what does it mean? What does it really mean? So, and that's something that I discovered today, and that's something that I want to share with all of you here today. First of all, Psalm 23 was written by David. Okay? He wrote down and said, the Lord is my shepherd. And when we think of the word Lord is my shepherd, we always think of this. Okay? Because this is what we sing. You know, this is Jesus and shepherd, and this may be Jesus, we don't know. But this is shepherd 2,000 years ago. People that takes care of sheep. And looking at the drawing of it, you tend to see that he is very clean, nurturing, loving, very gentle. That's what we imagine. But then this is the image that we put on in a drawing. But imagine yourself 2,000 years ago, who the shepherds were. It will be completely different group of people. They're not kings, they're not noble people, they're not highly educated people. They are basically nomad. When they go out with the sheep, they go out for months. And they come back. Imagine the condition of they're in after being out in the woods or in the forest, living completely as a homeless person for over a month. They're not very desirable people. And so when you imagine the reality of who the shepherds were, if you imagine it today, okay, this is what you will see. If you go to Israel, and I was there for twice, and this is the image that you will see a typical shepherd is in Israel. This also could be Palestinians also in the Middle Eastern areas. This is what you see. And this is what David has said, the Lord is my shepherd. You know, as I was growing up, there are a few people in my life that I looked up and said, that's who I want to become. Okay? And one of them would be Clint Eastwood. Another person will be Superman. Another person will be police officers. Another person will be strong, macho, special forces, military people. Those are the people that I highly admire. And when I went to and that's what encouraged me to go into the military since I was a little child. So when I turned 17 years old, even without my parents' permission, I was 17 years old, I went to the recruiter and signed up. Brought my recruiter home. My mom and dad was like, who is this guy? You know, they didn't speak any English. But I brought my recruiter home, and they said, we need your signature because your son is still under 17. And that's how I ended up going to the military. As soon as I graduated from high school, a week later, boom, I was in boot camp. But I was eager, and the military people just motivated me. They are what I wanted to be. And so when I went to the boot camp, the one group of people that really surprised me, who became my new heroes of my life. Even to this day, I still think of them as a really spectacular, strong group of people that I always admire even to this day. Are the group of people in the military are drill sergeants. They're not special forces, but it's the drill sergeants. And when I looked at this drill sergeant, they were just awesome. They were mean. They were fearless. They were very strong, very athletic. At the same time, the other side of them was they were very caring. I was really surprised to find this. You know, they were teaching me how to become a man. They were teaching me how to become a soldier. And after 8 weeks of boot camp, I started to discover that this drill sergeant is something I really admire. I don't know if I would become one, but I really had a high respect for the drill sergeant. And how about you? Throughout your whole life, you might have someone or some person or some position that you'll say, wow, that's the kind of person I want to be. Well, David himself, who was a shepherd, to care the sheep when he was a young person, he said, my Lord is my shepherd. He's referring God as my shepherd. I've questioned myself about this. If I was to write a Bible, correct? If I was going to refer God as any kind of character that I am familiar with in my surrounding, would I say the word shepherd? Would I say the word a farmer? My Lord, my God, the farmer? My Lord, my God, the drill sergeant? Or my Lord, my God, Superman? Or my Lord, my God, who is like Clint Eastwood? Would I do that? That's what exactly David did. He referred his God as my Lord and my shepherd. And also in the Bible, you find that there are over 200 different places in the Bible mentioning God as a shepherd. You often hear that all the time, and considering us to be the sheep. Even Jesus referred that to himself as a shepherd. So David saw something amazing about God becoming like shepherd. He referred God as a shepherd. And then, who is him then? He referred himself to be the sheep, right? So he's saying, we are like the sheep, and our God is like a shepherd. And he himself was a shepherd himself, but he could have said, you know, we are the shepherd, and maybe he's a master or whatever. He could have done any other different way, but he is now referring into himself as a sheep, and our God is a shepherd. Out of all the different characters in our society that we have, he could have said, my Lord is my God, my general, my knight, or whatever. He could have been any of those kind of characters, but he used God as a shepherd. So something like this, someone like this is what you're kind of referring to as my Lord. And again, God himself said, I am shepherd. So what is such a big deal? When you read Psalm 23, you find out that when David was writing this, that he was putting the information down to us. Saying that our God is not a mean, hostile, like a general or king or some movie star, some rich person, some athlete. Those are the people that we all admire, right? But yet, David is saying, my God is like shepherd. And so, with that ideal, he writes the Psalm 23, which became one of the most popular psalm that there was popular passage of the Bible in the whole book. And it is something that we all should really look into. See why this is such a big deal. And what is David saying? That the God that we all know is a shepherd. A kind of God who he is, like a shepherd. So we're going to find out today, in that one Psalm 23, it will tell us who God is to us. That you should relax. That you should be calm. Just like I need to be calm over Madeline's future or Monica's future, or where she's going. I need to calm down. Realizing this, that our God is a shepherd. Okay? So here in Psalm 23, which Todd read, says like this. Okay? And there are two different parts in all your Psalms that you read. Okay? If you ever read the Psalms, to us, it's really kind of like, doesn't really hit us that well or give us that information we need to know and what he's trying to really say. Because when you read any portion of the Psalm, it's kind of mingled in with what God is saying, what I am saying, what he is saying. It kind of gets all in there, squeezed in one area. Okay, that's why it's so confusing a lot of times. Well, Psalm 23 is the same way. It doesn't say God says this, and I say this, and this is my conclusion. It's not written like this. As you guys already know, I'm finding out every week, the Bible is just such a filled with mystery stuff, right? And you got to really read it, and not just read it, but you got to really read it, and really meditate on it. And if you guys are lost reading the Bible, you know what you got to do? First thing you got to do? Get down on your knees and pray. Get down on your knees and pray. Say, Lord, I'm about to read your Bible, your words. Can you reveal it to me, what you're trying to tell me? And if you ever come to a point like you don't understand, it's not the Bible's fault. It's your fault. Okay, you're not thinking it in God's point of view. Sometimes your attitude is wrong. Your thinking is wrong. That you cannot understand what the Bible is saying. But in the Bible, there's a meaning to it, everything that is in the Bible. There's a secret meaning behind it all. First of all, for you to understand what the Bible is saying, you need to think like God. You need to become more of a spiritual person, spiritual minded to understand what the Bible is saying. If you're not, and you're a secular person, and you think you're always brain and knowledgeable and smart person, you're never going to get it. Okay? It's not like a regular book. So that's how the Bible is written. Well, Psalm 23 is a similar situation. You find that what David is saying, who God is, and you'll find out what God is doing for us, and then also how he ends it with the story. So as you can see here, the ones that I underline is what David is saying, who God is. And the ones that are not underlined is that he's saying what I'm thinking, what he is thinking at that moment, because who God is. So like we say, the Lord is my shepherd. He's saying, our God is like a shepherd, I shall not want. A lot of people are confused the word I shall not want. I'm still confused with that word. What does that mean? It means, when you look at it in actual Hebrew, it means the word lack. Okay, I shall not lack. Meaning that if my God is my shepherd, there's nothing more that I need. I am completely satisfied. That's what it means. Okay, and it goes on to these verses. So what I got down here for you is the first part. The next thing that you will see is the breakdown of the ones that are not that are not underlined, are the ones what David is trying to say who God is. What does God do for me as a shepherd? Okay? And then the next screen that we're going to talk about is what he needs to do. Because who God is. Same thing for all of you here. After reading this portion, after we go over this portion here, you realize that who God is to you, and then it is your responsibility to take next action what you need to do. So when you read Psalm 23, that's how it's broken up. So first of all, what does David say who God is? God is my shepherd. Okay, the Lord is my shepherd. What does he do for me? He says he sometimes forces me to rest. Just like a shepherd, they don't know how to rest. A sheep doesn't know how to rest. So what the shepherd does is he takes them to a place where they can rest. Okay? And that's what he does it to all of you here. During this search in the last couple of days, I was listening to a sermon regards to Psalm 23. And this pastor was talking about how God forces us to rest. And the thing that came to my mind was this, everyone. Before my heart attack, okay, that happened in 2012, I was a workaholic. I worked over 25 to 30 hours overtime every week. Okay, and with you guys all know, like a lot of times with 20 years on the department, and then at the same time and half or overtime is a big chunk of money. Okay, so without even knowing about it, I didn't even know this was happening to me. But I got very greedy. Okay, I started to focus on money. I started focusing on making more money, and I was making more money. I was making more and make more money. So whenever there's an opportunity for overtime, I always signed up. And this is to I don't know why I didn't think about this, but it came to my mind when this pastor was talking about how God forces us to rest by sometimes getting you sick. Sometimes he puts the disasters up on your life so that God is like saying you need to rest. And he hit me. He made me remember. I did not remember this for the longest time. But I just remember why he was talking about this is that when I was working that many hours, 20 to 25 hours a week, right? And when I got my heart attack, it happened on Saturday morning, right? And I went to the hospital because I couldn't breathe, right? And then when the doctor looked at me, the paramedics didn't know. But the doctor looked at me and goes, "You're having a heart attack," right? But at that moment, the first thing that came to my mind was what? Oh, I hope I get well. I need to pray to God. I'm gonna, I start, maybe, am I gonna die? I need to get right with the Lord. That was not my first thing I thought. You know what it was? Oh no. Monday, I have 6-hour overtime scheduled. You know that? And also I'm thinking, calculating my money. It's like, oh, I'm going to lose about $200, right? I don't remember exactly. Or I'm calculating the money, like, oh, I'm not going to make that money that day. Or then all of a sudden I'm thinking, how long am I be gone? Because, well, at least about a month and a half. Wait a minute, that whole week I have 25 hours overtime scheduled. It's like, I'm going to lose all that. And I'm starting thinking at that moment, right, how much money I'm going to lose. Can you believe that? And then I realized how he changed me. I didn't even know. I got greedy and my body was tired. And maybe that was a part of the reason I got sick. Right? Well, after that happened, went back to work after a month and a half later. And whenever they were offering overtime, I said, it's okay, I don't want it. Unless you force me. Okay? Unless I have to. So I started working overtime, and a year later I ended up retiring from my job, and God took me to a different path. And since that time, I've been resting. All my tests comes out really well. Health-wise, I'm very happy. Everything is well, right? It's just that my mind is all messed up because I'm like, I just want to make more money all the time. Things I think like that. But I realized that like a shepherd, sometimes sheep does not know when to rest. Okay? That's why God makes people to rest. So as you could see it here in this last verse, what does it say? He makes me lie down in green pastures. Because you need to rest. Alright? So I needed to rest. Same thing for all of you here. And one thing I also found out about the sheep in this research that I found clearly tells me what kind of animal sheep are. Sheep are, number one, very stupid. Right? He just straight out says the word stupid. Okay, not intelligent or anything. Just says Sheep are dumb, stupid animals, okay? They are dirty. You think they're all white and pretty? You've seen like a drawing that we saw earlier? You know how cute they all look? They said that's not the reality. The reality of the sheep is that they're dirty because they got this fur, right? This heavy fur around them, the wool fur, whatever the fur that they have. And they go week after week eating. And during that time, they don't, like, you know, like the dogs and cats, they wipe themselves, they clean themselves up, they shed. So guess what? Sheep don't shed, okay? They have to go in and cut it, you know, cut it off to make the, whatever that's out of their body, right? The clothing that comes out of it. So they shed. So they have all that fur around them. Imagine that, like hair, you haven't washed your hair for about a month. And going through the woods, going through the grass, imagine the insects, the dirt, all that nasty stuff gathers around that animal. They don't know how to clean themselves. If they get wet, they die, because they can't move, because it gets so, you know, heavy, right? Another thing that also I was telling Matt, I couldn't hold it. I was gonna say, I told Matt I'm gonna hold it up until we go to church and talk about it. She was, I don't know. So I had to tell the story. Hang in there, Matt. Okay. Well, the thing I also found is, you know how they're resting, and they have a little ditch in the ground, and they are laying down like this, and then they lean over, and they lean further over, and they flip over like this, right? And when they flip over, they don't know how to turn themselves back up. So their legs and their arms are like, they're both legs, all four legs are sticks up, and unless someone brings them up this way, okay, they will die that way. Because I guess circulations or whatever that causes it, they just stays like this and they just die. Okay, you ever seen a photo like that? A drawing somewhere? I seen a photo of drawing somewhere where the sheep just have their feet out like this, upside down, and sticking in the air, and they just die. Okay, so they're dumb, and they are dirty, and also another thing that they're very defensive. They don't know how to defend themselves. Okay, they can't run. They don't have a teeth. They don't have a horn. They have nothing to protect themselves. And that's how David is referring how we are to God. Okay, we think we are smart. We think we're so clean, but spiritually we are dirty, right? Mentally we are dirty, but we think we're so clean on the outside. We're so clean on the everything else, but we're not. And then also we think we can fight everything, defend ourselves, and do everything we can without God, right? Well, God is saying, no. You are like a sheep. You can't do anything unless I let you do it. And that's what David is referring to, that we are the sheep. So you could see it here. We don't know how to rest. Our children, they don't know how to rest. Okay, when they're playing around and stuff, you know, one of the things that we did with Monica and Madeline, you know, they both wanted to sleep with me all the time, and they fight over, you know, to sleep with me all the time when they were little. I couldn't lay on their bed because it was small, but I would lay on my bed, you know, and I would have Monica over here, Madeline over here, and they're like fighting sometimes over me, right? They talk over me, you know, they do a lot of funny stuff. And I get so tired of it, and I go, stop! And I go, let's see who could go to sleep the first. And they, within a second, boom, they're gone. So they're competing with each other to go to sleep faster. And you know what? After that, I just go right over, pick them up, right? And then put them in their bed, okay? Then they take the other one in the bed. I'm always cracking myself up. It works every night. Like, let's see who goes to sleep first. Boom, they're gone. And what is this? They don't know how to rest, right? They don't know they're tired. Is that right? Is that right with your children too? They don't know how to rest, unless I can keep them candies, you know, and they get all, you know, fired up with the sugar. Just like us, we don't have a mother and father to do that right now. So a lot of times we get trapped into money. We get trapped in, I'm talking about, you know, Hannah's working a lot of overtime right now. But we get trapped into money. We get trapped into glory. We get trapped into image, right? Position. Isn't that right? And I know, I mean, you guys, I love you guys all, and I have respect for all you guys all, because you guys all work very hard. All right? But I'm talking overdoing yourself, not knowing when to rest. I mean, I was that person, all right? I mean, you know, when I was in college, I was into so many stuff. Never had a day off because I was so focused. As soon as I did everything, right? And then also I started to get up from work at 5 o'clock, and all of a sudden I have weekends off. I never had that before. I didn't know what to do with myself. I had no friends because I put so much effort into my career, and I started getting involved with church. And then at the same time, later on when I got married, I was so focused on making money, and God was like saying, "You don't know how to rest." We don't know how to rest. And so like my situation, and I'm sure it can happen to each one of you here, he gets you sick. He creates situations, like stop working. Take a break, because, we think that as a tragedy. I thought for the longest time, I thought it was a tragedy. It was a curse that I got sick. But just a couple of months ago, I realized it was a blessing. It wasn't a curse. I take 7 medications. I'm not even sick, right? And the doctor's always changing my medications on me. And I used to curse that medication. And that was what discouraged me about working and thinking I'm going to get sick. And throughout the whole time, I worked hard to stay healthy so they could get rid of my medication. But they constantly adding it or changing it. I'm like, what's wrong with you, doctor? So to me, it was a curse, right? But then all of a sudden I realized, I think you guys did it to me. All these years I thought it was a curse. But then a couple months ago, I realized maybe it's not a curse. It was a blessing to me. And they were telling me that there's nothing wrong with me. In fact, all my tests always comes out well. In fact, it's better than before. And they keep telling me that it's preventable. It's not curable. It's preventable medication. So all this time, I didn't understand that. You understand what I'm talking about? It's not that you're sick, you're taking it. You're taking it so you don't get sick. To me, I didn't see the difference. But all of a sudden, like, boom, hit me. Oh, it's preventable. It's a blessing so that I could stay healthier. Maybe that's why I am doing the workout that I'm doing so well, because I am, taking this medication. All of a sudden, I realized, the thing that I thought was a curse, everyone, I realized it was a blessing. Not working, 40 hours a week, I thought that was a curse. Then I realized that's a blessing. I don't see any purpose, or like I used to do. Well, purpose is making more money, having a status, correct? But when I realized that now my purpose is serving the Lord. And that place, this so happened with you guys. A couple months ago, boom, I changed it around. I have a purpose to serve the Lord now. Not making money, but or having a status or a position, but my purpose is to serve the Lord. And I start to see how before, when I was working, my purpose was for work, but this is another purpose for me here, like a work. That He's given me a purpose to serve Him. Okay? Not in my own imagination or what I desire, but in God's desire, in God's imagination, in God's deal, God's way, serving Him. Okay? And it's just like, it's a blessing to have you guys here. Right? I mean, it's hard to find people like you guys. All right? It really changes me too. Next thing that also says is that He calms people. Okay? He takes them to the lake or water where it's totally calm. Once in a while we go to Eldorado Park with me and my wife and go over there for a walk, and there's a nature area. And there's a big lake over there. It's completely calm. It's nice and just wonderful. Just beautiful. You could just sit there. You feel relaxed. Okay? Because you got that calm lake. But that thing, it just makes you feel good. Well, God wants to take you to that location. So you calm down. And that's what the shepherd does. And that's what God does to each one of us here. What's the next one? He renews your soul. He changes your soul. And how does that happen? By reading the gospel, praying. Okay? He renews you. Just like He does it for the sheep. A shepherd takes a sheep to renew their soul, to refresh you, to change you. And so that's why you go on a trip a little bit. Right? I'm sure Ernest gets coming driving down from your Magic Mountain, you're just driving, just looking at the sky, you know. I don't know if that calms him down or not, but God wants to take you to where you can be calm. So this is what David sees. He sees that God renews me. He sees that God calms me down, and He makes me rest, either I like it or not. And that's what he did as a shepherd to his own sheep. Okay? So that's what he says. Then he realized, oh, God's like that to me. Next thing is He leads me to the right path. The Bible, okay, what the Bible we have, all right, tells you what is right and wrong, despite of what everybody else says, and they try to justify saying that what they think is right and wrong. But Bible already tells us, okay, what is right and what is wrong. I tell you, I definitely, did not spend my time in jail, okay, or knowing what it is right now in my life, what is right and wrong, through the Bible, okay. God tells us what is right. It helps me because that's the way He is. He says the word, if you really, the actual word in Psalm 23 is this, for His name's sake. Okay? He's not doing this because you are so wonderful and so righteous, but He's doing it because that's just the way He is. The shepherd cares for his sheep, okay, not because they're great or they're beneficial to him, but he does it because that's his job. That's who he is. And that's what Paul writes. David writes, okay? And then number 6, He is always with me. He says He's disciplined and protects me. And He does it, that's what the shepherds do. They carry 2 sticks. I didn't know this. 1 stick, I think there's a picture of that earlier photo, where the man has a rod to protect the sheep from the wolf and from any animals. When they come, they go over and try to fight it. And that's what David did. And also the staff is to guide the sheep, okay? And then when it's got the hook, like they said they had a hook, and when they wander off, they go over and grab the sheep to back in. So that's what He does to each one of you here. You do something wrong, okay? He will have to drag you back in. And He also protects you from any harm. So He's telling us not to be afraid, okay? He is preparing a gigantic party for me. David is talking about, he has a great deal, you could just read that. It says right here, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup runs over. With Him seeing it here or not, you're taking care of me. And also in heaven, He has prepare a party for me. So God is a party animal. Okay? He really has a big party. I can't wait. God's going to have a big celebration for me. A lot of times, I don't like, when I had a 50th birthday, my wife secretly arranged the birthday party for me. I didn't like it. I said, I was really angry after she did it. I'm still angry. I'm still like angry at her. I don't like party. I don't want to be the center person of everything. Right? But when I go to heaven, I like it or not, He's going to do it. In heaven, I take it gladly. I'll be just like, I'll be excited to be in His presence. I couldn't imagine, she does it for me. Why? Because she loves me, right? Okay? Imagine how God does. God loves each one of you very much. He's setting it up for a big major party for each one of you here. When you go to heaven, He's just going to celebrate for you guys with all amazing food. And then it goes on to the other part that I told you where it's not underlined, is who David is thinking. Is what should I say? How should I believe? Why should I expect? Knowing who God is that we just talked about earlier. This is your part, okay? This is my part. That we need to understand, now knowing that God is our shepherd, and then what He does, and how He takes care of you, and how He takes care of me, this is what we need to do. And that's what is written down in that Psalm 23. Okay? A lot of times we miss it. We don't see it because it's all mingled in. It's all jumbled in like in this crushed area. But if you break it down and you take it apart, okay, this is what you will find. First of all, He's saying, the Lord is my God. Lord is my shepherd, but He is my God. Who is your God? Right now in my life, I really don't have too many people that I don't say Superman is my hero. I don't say my drill sergeant is my hero. I tell everyone is my Lord that I put my trust into. And for me to have that faith, I have to read the Bible and I have to be very close to Him to make Him my God. It's so critical for all of you to make God your God. My God. Okay? My personal God. Not my husband's God. Not my dad's God. Not my sister's God. Not my wife's God. No. It has to be your personal God. Understand? Okay? My God. It doesn't matter. Monica and Madeline grew up in a Christian home, and they're doing great. They're wonderful. They're faithful young ladies. But one thing that I was always concerned about is that they don't follow my God. That they follow their own God. That they make God their own God. Each one of you has to do the same thing. If you don't feel that God is your personal God, you have to make Him your personal God to make this work. To see that God is taking care of you as He's your shepherd, you need to make Him your personal God. So even the Old Testament, we're finding that it's not a distant God or religious God, but it's my personal God. Okay? That's what you need to understand. Second thing is, remember the word I shall not want that we talked about? He's talking about I shall not lack anything. Well, he says when you make God my God, all right, you are completely content. You're completely satisfied. Too many people out there in our world right now are not satisfied, especially the people that live in America, okay, who has everything, with all the good things that they have in their life, and say, I'm not satisfied, and it happens to me too. It's because you're not making God your God. Okay? People fall into all these other different type of addictions, perversions, all these type of issues that they all fall into. Okay? Mental issues and all that. I struggle with it too, because as soon as those things happen, when the crisis started happening to me, man, I went through some major mental issues. It's all cursed, just totally weak person. But during the whole time, I fought it. My God will help me. My God will help me. And people are like suggesting this. Maybe go to a psychologist. No, I'm not going to see a psychologist. I'm going to depend on the Word. And even to this day, when I get into the part, like, we're all human beings. We can't be satisfied all the time. But when you're not feeling satisfied, you need to start seeking God more. That's what I do. Okay? I mean, my wife, my daughter might say, no, you don't. But I'm trying. That's why you don't see me getting into alcohol. You don't see me getting into drugs. A lot of people will go, going off and doing something really weird, really bad. Okay? It's because I'm trying. People may look at you and say, you're a Christian and you're so sad. Well, still, I'm going to try. I'm going to make the effort to make my God my God. Okay? My personal God. And when you do, you will find that satisfaction. I know so many Christians, that struggle with their drug addiction, whatever addiction they all have, and have come out of it. When you talk to those people, they say it's because, I do it with the Lord, and I don't do it with 50% or 80%, but I do it with 110% faith in me to know that I can be satisfied with my Lord. So what does it do? What do you got to do? You got to believe in God 100%, more than 100%, to say I can be satisfied with my Lord. I can be satisfied by going to church. I can be satisfied reading the Word. I can be satisfied reading the Bible and praying, worshiping God. Okay? If you're lacking those areas, you need to do more. Okay? You need to serve God more. You need to follow God more. You need to read the Bible more. You need to pray more. You need to worship God more. Okay? Do not say it doesn't work. Tell your friends or tell yourself and say, don't ever say that. The Bible doesn't work. It works. You just have not put all your effort into it. So he says the next thing that we need to do, in my most darkest moment, I will not be afraid. I tell you, when Monica broke her arm, we were like not fear, like dumbfounded, like, I don't know what to do. What were we supposed to feel? And the next thing I felt was also the fear. Right? And in Psalm 23, he tells you and me that it's the shadow of death. The actual word in Hebrew, there's no word death. Okay? It just says dark shadow. Meaning that the most difficult time of your life, in the most fearful time of your life, in the most uncertain time of your life, it tells us not to fear. Okay? That is why, David is writing this story saying, in a most difficult time, don't worry, don't be afraid. You know what? Seriously, when that situation occurred to me, I keep repeating that verse, and we overcame our fear by constantly reading that verse over and over. Next one, I'm comforted by God's protection and guidance. In my past and future, there are already good days, and lots of we don't say that, we question that. Why? Because we're focusing on the bad situations, right? But then looking at overall, the 90%, 95% of your life is all good. But we focus on 4 or 5% of bad time to say it can be good. But what he's saying is don't look at the negative part, but look at the 95% of your life. Good thing has happened, the many more good things will occur in the future. And then the next one here, he says, I will be in heaven forever with my Lord. Isn't that awesome? In the end of that, Psalm 23, I never really knew this. He adds the word forever. Okay, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We focus on all this stuff, and I never really thought of this. Okay, he says, and with all this, with all the things in life. In fact, he covers everything in life, right? In this short verses, right? Is I will be in the house of the Lord forever. No matter what happens, I will be with the Lord forever. And this is what he's saying at the end. So you guys understand what he's saying here? In Psalm 23 now, when you read Psalm 23, it's not just one of the many writing, but it is the most significant writing trying to tell us we're just a sheep and our Lord is shepherd. And more surprisingly, 1,000 years later, after David wrote this, Jesus comes, right? And he says, I'm the shepherd. He is referring himself, who is the Son of God, right? And saying, I'm the shepherd. He did not get offended, saying, you know what, 1,000 years ago, your King David wrote me that I am a shepherd. I'm not a sheep, I'm a king. I'm a lion, or I'm somebody great. He didn't say that. He said, I am the shepherd. And imagine, it's not the outward appearance that God is concerned about. He's not concerned about his money. He's not concerned about where he is, or who he is. What he's concerned about is who I am as a character of God. That's why David wrote and says, my Lord is my shepherd. Because he's not writing about the worldly status, but a character status. God's character is what we just talked about here, and that's what Jesus is saying. I'm in for character. I am not in here for the outward image. I did not come to this world what I can as a king and being rich person or popular person or some really talented person. But I said, I'm God of character. So he says this, most surely I say to you, I am the door of the sheep, like a door that goes in and out. And he also says, I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. Again, he's talking about the sheep and shepherd relationship. And he goes, I have come that they may have life, that they may have it more abundantly. John 10:10, I am the good shepherd. You see that word shepherd? The good shepherd gives his life for the sheep. God gives his life for you. He opens the doors for you. He saves you. He takes you to a good pasture. This is a promise that God is giving to each one of us here today. As our Lord, our God. And he goes on to say, I am the good shepherd, and I know my sheep, and am known by my own. Okay, if you know God, you know who God is. I lay down my life for the sheep. Okay? This is all these promises that God's giving to each one of us. I mean, if I was there 2,000 years ago and hearing this Jesus, Messiah, God who's claims to be the Son of God, and he's referring him saying, I'm the sheep. You're saying you're the sheep? I'm the shepherd? And we're the sheep? And why are you referring yourself as a shepherd? Why can't you refer yourself as something else? The more that you're worldly, that's how you will think. The more spiritual you will look at more intently, okay, of their character. And I could see that the same thing could happen in my position where you guys are sitting there and saying, who are you? Did you go to did you get a PhD? You know, are you like well-known person to come here and to talk to us about the gospel? Easily, anyone that comes in here can say that. But I thank you guys so much because you are not looking at my stats, but you're looking at my spiritual well-being. You're looking at my character. You're looking at my life. You're looking at my passion for the Lord. Okay? And that's what it makes each one of you sit there and listen to what I'm talking to you and say, believing, because of your humble heart, you're believing that, oh, you know what? The Lord is speaking through this Yoon Hee guy to us. But what would you listen? So a lot of times in an environment, in another spectacular environment like this, people are not attracted to it because they're more looking into worldly desires, right? Saying it can be happen to all of us. So when you're seeing a minister or someone that speaks to the Lord or as a pastor, it's very important even for me and for all of you to look at the character of the person. Okay, and how God has anointed to that person to speak the word. So this is what happens right here. Okay, so God says, "I am the shepherd," and then He goes, "I lay down my, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and I am known by my own. I lay down my life for the sheep." And then further, and then lastly, okay, this is what Jesus said: "My sheep hear my voice. I know them, and they follow me. And I gave them eternal life. They shall never perish, neither shall anyone snatch them out of my hand. My Father who has given them to me is greater than all, and no one is able to snatch them out of my Father's hand. And I and my Father are one." So the Lord is my shepherd. Okay? So with this in mind, always remember this. If you make God as your Lord and Savior, your personal God, God will take care of you. And if you're confused, like I get confused all the time. My wife and my daughter, they just look at us like, Papa's confused again. We get confused, okay? Listen to God's voice. He will direct you to the right path. And earlier I told you that I apologize for Madeline saying, make your decision now. I apologize for that, and because this verse came to my mind. In fact, I had a bad dream about it, and then I realized, wait a minute here. God will show us what we need to do. He will. I am His sheep. I am His follower. He will show me what I need to do. God will show you what you need to do. Sometimes something's going on in your life, you don't know what to do, which direction to take. You have time, that's the time you need to start praying, and God will show you where you need to go. He will speak to you through the circumstance. He will speak to you through your heart where you need to go. And this is a testing time of your life. But bigger than anything else, as we talked about it earlier, the beginning of our story here today, Lord, who? Who is your Lord to you? And He can become what? Like other stuff, worldly stuff. But or it could be here, God, the Lord is your God, but then how much of it? Is it your God completely or just part of it? Where do you stand in this? And so one time, the thing to remember in Psalm 23, I hope you have a better understanding now. What he's talking about, how it is all broken down, and what David is trying to say, what God is trying to say to each one of you here. And he's not a bit embarrassed to be called as a shepherd. As you can see in the earlier photo that we saw, that's what David is referring. My God is my shepherd. A person who's in that kind of image. But he doesn't care because he's looking at the character. He's looking at each one of your characters also the same thing. So let's all close our eyes right now.